my name is Dr. Morgan, Dr. Valerie Morgan, and I am the Director for Academic and Career Success. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the academic piece of orientation. So many of these slides that I'll be sharing with you this evening are what your students and Panthers have seen at freshman orientation. So you can see what they've heard and some of that, and feel free to put any questions that you have in the Q&A box. And I have two colleagues that are watching that and will be answering as we go along if you have questions. So the transition to university is going to vary from student to student, how they manage that. One of the greatest challenges that our students coming from high school face is time management and study skills. We'll be talking a little bit more about those. But it is a transition. It's definitely going to be different for students, and we want to make sure that they're aware of that. So these are some of the resources available to your Panther. We have your academic advisors. So each Panther is assigned an academic advisor. Obviously, parents, family, and friends, their new peers that they'll be meeting, tutoring available, Center for Student Engagement, Career and Talent Development, their professors. We have counseling and psychological services, life coaching. These are just some of the resources available to them. And so, you know, it's important for students to know that these services are available. For example, counseling and psychological services, they may not need to seek out counseling and psychological services today or this first year. But it's important that they know it's a resource, because there may become a time when they may want to seek out those services, or the life coaching. Certainly Career and Talent Development, we want them to utilize every year, and Center for Student Engagement, and keeping a close relationship with their academic advisors, and tutoring. So these are all important resources. They're all included in the tuition that students pay, so there's nothing extra utilizing any of these services. And while we are remote, all these services are available as well in their remote environment. So advising is very important for your student. We recommend that they meet with their advisor at least once a semester to develop that relationship and to ensure that they're on track. We want students to feel confident in their selection of major, and developing a relationship with their academic advisor can help them weed through questions that they might have, or you know, if they feel like they might want to make a change and have questions about another major. So it's very, very important that they stay connected with their advisor, and we have tools available to help them do that I'll be talking about as well. So these are some pictures of some of the resources. Of course, the one on the right, Big FIU, is the library at MMC. There's a picture of the Mastery Math Lab that's available for students for tutoring. Our SASC building, the library at BBC. So there are lots and lots of services available. And again, we want students to know that they're available, that these services are there for them, and to not be afraid to ask for help. In high school, many students have the perception that if you are asking for help, that you're behind, or there's something wrong with you, or you're not being successful. However, in college, it's the students who ask for help tend to be our more successful students. And so there's really a whole change in philosophy about who goes for tutoring, who uses the math lab, or who goes to the library and spends time in there, not just socializing, but actually doing research or working in study groups. So it's really, really important that students know what's available and don't hesitate to take advantage of what is available, because that's what we're here for. We want them to be successful. And that's why the university has spent so much time in developing these resources for your students, because we want them to succeed. So we talk a lot with the students about time management and making school a priority. In high school, they really don't spend a lot of time in class. They spend more time in class than they do outside. And they don't often have a lot of homework. We have students who will come and say, yeah, I would, we ask, raise your hand if, you were able to study the night before an exam and still get an A, or write a paper the night before and still get an A on it. And most students will raise their hand and say, yeah, that was me. But in college, that's not going to be reality. And so there's a big change in how they manage their time. So they're not in class as much, and the expectation is outside of class, there's so much more work for them to do. So there's lots of tools for students available. And we encourage them to learn what's going to be helpful for them. So some students like to have that notebook and write things down. But we know they all have access to online calendars. And so it's really important that they figure out which method. One is not better than the other. It just depends on what the student is interested in and will use. Because it's not helpful if they set up a calendar on their phone and then never look at it. But putting in their assignments and things like that, there's lots and lots and lots of free apps that are available to help them with that. And so if your Panther's taking Freshman Experience Seminar, that's one of the things, one of the topics that gets discussed, and they encourage students to check out different tools that are available. So this is an example of, time in class versus self-directed study, high school versus college. So it's almost a complete flip. And so in college, we have students who think, oh, I'm only in class, twice a week for 2.5 hours, and I have all this free time. And they think they can work full time, or, have all this free time to go to the beach or, party or socialize. And the reality is that's when they will be studying. They actually should have less free time in college than they had in high school, because of the expectation that the professors will have of the amount of work and the quality of the work that they're expected. Many times students will, be surprised if a psychology professor says, well, you have 50 pages to read for our next class, and that's a lot. And so students may think, is that real? Do they really expect that? And they do. And if they don't keep up with it, it becomes a snowball effect, and it's hard to keep up. And so, we encourage them to have to kind of change their mindset a little bit as to how they are planning their time. And that's something that family members can help manage those expectations, especially regarding time management for new students. So this is also a little screen that we share with the students. So there's 24 hours in a day, 168 hours in a week. How do you plan your time? So this is an exercise that they might do something similar to this in their freshman experience class, and plot it out and put, when are you in class? When are you doing your homework? What expectations do your family members have? Do you have to pick up a sibling from school, or do you have to clean the house or run some errands? And plot that into your schedule, ensuring that you have enough time for studying and preparing for class. So not only, after class doing your homework, but what do you have to do before class that morning? Do you have to do some review? Should you be redoing your notes and things like that? So we do have an opportunity for our first time in college students to earn an Associate of Arts degree as they are pursuing their bachelor's degree. So this will entail satisfying all of their university core curriculum requirements. They must maintain at least a 2.0 GPA. 60 credits is the minimum, and at least 20 must be at FIU, and they cannot transfer in more than 40 credits. The foreign language requirement, and satisfy civic literacy. So these are all things that students have to do toward their bachelor's degree. So it's nothing extra. And so if they're interested in having this notation posted on their FIU transcript, very simple form for them to fill out. We have a website, aadegree.fiu.edu, and they can fill it out, and we post it on the transcript, and then they can say, as they're making progress, it's a milestone that they're completing. So this is optional, but it's certainly available for students. We do not produce diplomas, but it's something that the official document is their transcript. And if they have a part-time job, or as they're applying for a job, they can say they have the AA degree as they're completing their bachelor's degree. So we want students to graduate in 4 years. So the way to do that is to earn at least 30 credits per year. So on the left, 4 years for freshmen, traditional freshmen. On the right, if students already fulfill the AA, when they come to us, they'll only need another 2 years. So we do have some students who attend either our AAA program or School for Advanced Studies and have a significant amount of credits that they're coming in earned through an acceleration mechanism in high school. And that shortens their time to finishing their bachelor's degree. So encourage students to take advantage of what they've done in high school and how it can help them graduate sooner. So we have 3 main semesters. It's the fall semester, spring, and summer. And so 30 credits in a year, you know, they can split that up on however they see what makes sense for them. Minimum of 12 credits fall and spring, that's full time for federal guidelines, minimum of 12 credits. So if they did 15 credits fall and 15 credits spring, then there's their 30 credits. But if they did, say, 12 and 13, then they do another 5 next summer. So that's something they can discuss with, of course, their family members and their academic advisors, what makes sense as far as a load. So they may decide this semester I'm taking a lot of classes that are very challenging, and then the next semester it's a little bit lighter, and so they'll take a heavier load of credits. But 30 credits per year is what we really are promoting for students in order for them to graduate in 4 years. So, and the reason why we want them to finish in 4 years is because of the savings in tuition and how much more money they'll earn in their lifetime if they finish sooner. So students who, this is a quote, a fun fact at the top here, students who take longer to graduate spend 40% more than those who graduate on time. And so students who earn a master's degree on average earn 20% more in salary. So we want students to graduate in 4 years. The longer they take, you know, if they go over the 4 years, they're paying more money in tuition and they have that loss of salary that they're not earning in their career job that they are planning to pursue. And this is another reason why we want students to graduate in a timely fashion, excess credit surcharge. So this is a state of Florida mandate. This is not FIU. This is the state of Florida. So students, the average bachelor's degree is 120 credits. So students are allowed to take a percentage of credits beyond the 120 without being charged anything extra. However, once they go beyond that 120%, so this class is 120%, previous years it was a little bit different, but this year's class is 120%, so they can attempt 144 credits. So attempt means they may not have earned a grade for it or a passing grade, but if tuition was paid for that course, so that includes if they got an F in the course, if they dropped the course after the first week, or they got no credit for the course, those are all considered attempts. So beyond that, if they go beyond the 144 credits, they will be assessed an excess credit surcharge. So as you can see here, it's $105.07 per credit for every credit that they need to take beyond the attempted 144 credits. So there are exceptions. Any accelerated credit that they came with from high school. So AP, IB, ACE, CLEP, any dual enrollment credits. So those are automatically removed from that counter. If a student does an internship or they have a double major or a certificate, they're in a certificate program. So those are all exceptions that will not add to that 144 attempted credit. So there's a counter that students have when they log into PantherSoft. So they can be monitoring that as they're making progress. You may want to ask them to share that with you. look at it together as they're going along to ensure that they avoid reaching this excess credit surcharge. And so one of the greatest ways to avoid excess credits is to ensure that the students are in an appropriate major and are being successful in their courses. So if they have a challenging course, utilizing the support services that are available so that they are successful in the course and don't have to repeat it. We also want students to identify early on if they do want to change their major. So we do have, I see on occasion, probably more often than not, students who are in a major that they've selected because either family members are encouraging them to go into that major, or they selected the major because it's something they've seen on TV and it's exciting and they think that it's going to be a good fit. And the key is to find something the students like and something that they're good at, and putting those together. Because if they are in a major where they're taking courses they're not enjoying, chances are they're not going to be successful and probably are not going to be happy in that career once they graduate. And so if they, we have some tools to help them identify that I'll be mentioning early on what is appropriate for them, like what their interests are. And, a lot of times they will not think about what they enjoy doing. They think more about how much money they may be making in that career. And that doesn't always lend itself to being successful. Because as you all know, we spend a significant amount of time in our career, more time than we spend with our family. And so it is so important to find something that we enjoy doing and to be happy. So for early fall, students will enroll in up to 7 credits. So that's typically 2 3-credit courses and their freshman experience seminar class, which is 1 credit. I have to say I love working with our early fall students. It's really my favorite group to work with. They have the opportunity to prepare for fall classes. They're getting a head start on those 30 credits. And they'll feel more confident once the fall starts and when everybody else is ready for the new semester. So that's what they'll be taking they'll be discussing with their advisor what those 7 credits are. Besides freshman experience, what else are they taking? So when I talked about 120 credits, right, for the major, majority of probably 99% of our degrees are 120 credits. So that is a combination of university requirements, their specific college requirements, and their major requirements. And those will add up to the 120 credits. So these are things that are all university requirements, civic literacy. So regardless of their major, they have to satisfy the civic literacy, the global learning requirement. Summer enrollment means they need 9 credits before they graduate over the summer. Flint Flex, most of our students will have that satisfied if they did 2 years of the same foreign language in high school. But that is a graduation requirement. The university core curriculum. So regardless of what their major is, they have to complete all those requirements. Now, once they know what their major is, what courses they choose out of those requirements will vary. However, they still need to complete all the different categories. And they have to maintain a certain GPA. So to be in good standing at FIU, in general, 2.0, it's a C average. However, certain majors have a higher GPA. And so it's very important that students are aware of what that requirement is for their major. So the university core curriculum is a general education requirements. So there are different categories that are specified by the state of Florida. So in all the different state universities, there are categories that students must satisfy. And so group ones for the categories are all statewide. The courses listed there are statewide courses. And then the group twos are institution specific. And so again, the students will make their choices out of these different categories based on their major. If there's specific prerequisites for their major, or in some cases, they have flexibility to choose whichever ones they're interested in. So these are the different categories. We have social sciences, mathematics, art, natural sciences, communications, and humanities. The mathematics category and the communications are what we call Gordon Rule. And students must get a C or better in those Gordon Rule courses. And they're, in addition to under communications, they have ENC 1101 and ENC 1102. Those are freshman composition 1 and 2, where they're writing. They will take 2 more writing courses out of the university core curriculum, which can be in various areas. So GRW stands for Gordon Rule Writing, and the courses will have that designation after the course title on the checkoff sheet. And so they'll do significant amount of writing in each of those courses once they've completed ENC 1101 and 2. Humanities Group 2 is automatically GRW. So they're going to get 1 there. So it's very important when they're planning out their courses that they make a selection in another area for GRW. Because if they go through the university core curriculum and they do not pick another GRW, they'll have to go back and take another course. But the idea is that they plan it out so they can kind of double dip with that. AMH 2020, which is under social science category, also fulfills civic literacy, also fulfills GRW. And there are certainly certain AP, IB dual enrollment courses that students took in high school that may satisfy not only GRW, but different areas of the university core curriculum. So students, the Panthers, your student Panthers, will be talking to their advisors about that to make sure that they receive appropriate credit in the different categories and know exactly what they need to satisfy. Global learning is also a requirement regardless of the major. All students need to satisfy a global learning requirement. So for our first year students, they will take 2 global learning courses, 1 out of the university core curriculum. So GL is the designation after the course title on the checkoff sheet. So very similar to GRW, students need to plan out what GL course they're going to take out of UCC. Because if they complete all the UCC different categories and do not pick one that's GL, they'll have to go back and take another course specifically to satisfy GL. So again, we want them to kind of double dip and satisfy 2 requirements in 1 category, but it takes planning. They have to plan it out. And then before they graduate, they'll take a discipline specific course, so 1 in their major. And their advisor will help them to determine what the opportunities are and what courses will fulfill the discipline specific global learning requirement for their major. It's very important to note that transfer credits or anything accelerated mechanism like test credits do not satisfy the global learning requirement. So all students must take and fulfill their global learning requirement courses at FIU. Civic literacy is a state requirement. So all students in the state university system and the Florida college system must satisfy civic literacy. So there's 2 ways to do this. One is to have, one is to come with through a test. They can satisfy it through a test. So either AP, government and politics, so a score of 3 or higher on that specific AP exam. AP US history, a score of 4 or higher will satisfy civic literacy. Students can choose to take CLEP in American government. So CLEP is a national credit by exam the students pay for, and a score of 50 or higher on CLEP will satisfy for American government will satisfy civic literacy. And then there's also a Florida civic literacy test. and students must score a 60 or higher. So those are the different exams, or students could take a course, either American Government or AMH 2020. So students will talk to their advisor about whether does it make sense to take the American Government or American History, if they haven't already satisfied it through AP or CLEP coming from high school. If not, then they will explore taking the Florida Civic Literacy Test. There's no fee for the Florida Civic Literacy Test. Students do not earn credit by passing the Florida Civic Literacy Test. It's strictly to satisfy this requirement. So students will talk to their advisor about how this is satisfied, best for their major. So mathematics is a category in the university core curriculum. Students must take 2 courses. Regardless of what their major is, they will have 2 math courses required. And so depending on their major will determine, is this a math-oriented major or is it not? And what are the best courses to satisfy math for that specific major? Again, this is Gordon Rule, which means C or better. And we want them to satisfy these during their first 2 years. Math is one of those areas that many students may come from high school saying, I'm not good at math, or, I don't like math, and they want to put it off. But it's really better for them to take it right away. Not in the summer, not in a 6-week term, probably. It's better to do it in the 16-week in the fall, especially if they're not, thrilled with math. But I encourage them to do it in fall because they'll have retained some from high school. The longer they wait, the easier it is to forget. And then, sometimes when you put things off that you're not thrilled with, it just makes it easier to keep putting it off. And then it becomes harder when you do take it. We also have a lot of support services for mathematics in tutoring. So when we're back on campus, we have tutoring centers on both campuses. In person, so they have small group, they have individual, they have grouped, and then certainly there's online. So we have online available now while we're remote, and in fall, whether we're back in person, they also have online tutoring for math. And then many of the courses are required, they require students to spend time in the math mastery lab. So every week there's a certain amount of hours that they have to spend working in the lab. So it's kind of like forces them to do their homework, which is has shown to be very successful. So these are the math tracks by major that we share with the students. So I'm just going to kind of gloss through these because the students have seen these, and this is something that they should be aware of based on their discussions with their advisor. So it's based on what their major is, what track they will follow, and the way it's determined by which course they start out with is based on a model that our institutional research office developed based on looking at students who were successful in math. And so we look at the SAT or ACT math score, as well as their high school GPA. And sometimes we look at also what math they had in high school. So, and the grades they received in those courses. So a student, for example, for math, science, and engineering track, which is the first one, you can see it's college algebra, pre-calculus algebra and trigonometry, then calculus 1 and calc 2. And so anyone who is planning to major in engineering, for example, needs to be calc 1 ready. So their first semester in fall, they will be taking calculus 1. So if they are not ready to take calculus 1, then they will not be starting out as an engineering major. So they may be put in a kind of a pre-engineering track. So the key is, because there's so much math in obviously a math, science, and engineering major, that the students have to be good at math. And usually students who love math will do fine in those majors. And if math is not their strong point, then they may at some point decide, this probably isn't the major for me. But again, that's something that the student has to determine how much effort and time they want to put into being successful in those math classes if they are in a major that's math, science, and engineering, and they're not thrilled with math. So that's probably the largest category where we see students who start out thinking that, you know, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor, because they're going to make so much money in those fields, and they may not be that strong of a math major and make that decision early on that it's not a good fit for them. So that's just an example. As you can see, there's construction management, information technology, and computer science and Internet of Things. So there's other options for students who may start out thinking strongly, you know, a math major, but very similar other options that are not necessarily as math intensive. So here's some other tracks by major: psychology, business and economics. So the advisors will let the students know this is what you placed into. And if a student feels that it's not reflective of what their skill really is, then they do have an opportunity to take a math placement test called ALEX. There is a fee for ALEX. It's a $25 fee. That's what the company charges for that test. And so there's more information on our testing center website. If the student's interested, and of course the advisors share that with their students. So as you can see, it varies, right? So sustainability and the environment, there's 2 courses they need. It varies depending on the major. So here's some more. Biology, the BA, the dietetics, nutrition, the pre-health professions. So it does vary again by major. So these are some of the tools that are available for students and that we strongly encourage them to become very familiar with. And I encourage you to also talk to your student about what are these tools. The MyFIU, they should already be very familiar with that because that's how they log in to see you know, their financial aid. That's how they register. That's where all their records are going to be held in the MyFIU. So that's their portal. The Panther Success Network is how they keep in touch with their academic advisor. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. I have a slide for that. But they will be communicating online with their advisor. They can schedule their appointment. The advisor will put in the Panther Success Network notes from when they do meet. So there's lots of different features of the Panther Success Network. And all of these tools they access through the MyFIU. The Panther Degree Audit is what we use to keep track of students meeting graduation requirements. And then the major map is something that anyone could look at. If you go to mymajor.fiu.edu, it's kind of a static list of semester by semester what's recommended for a specific major. So there isn't a, you know, per se, it's not interactive on the major map, but it's very helpful for students to get an idea of, you know, what they should be taking. So for example, if they come with AP English and they got a 3, their first semester may say ENC 1101, but if they have the AP English a 3 or higher, then they earned ENC 1101. So even though their map may say that, they'll go into the next level, ENC 1102. But it's a nice breakdown for them to get an idea of semester by semester, how they break down what they should be doing over the next 4 years. The My Major Match, they should be looking at, that's in their MyFIU. So if they haven't taken that already, it's probably on their to-do list. So that's another one that I strongly recommend you talk to your student about. If they took the My Major Match, and it's basically a 12-minute assessment, an online career assessment that students can take, and they can take it more than once. They'll have access to it throughout their entire career at the university and even after they graduate. And, you know, it's an initial commitment of about 12 minutes to take the assessment. It's asking them what are their interests, what are their strengths. And oftentimes students will answer those questions because they already have a career in mind. And so sometimes we have them, you know, retake the My Major Match because they were not necessarily being honest with themselves about what they really enjoy doing and what their strengths really are. And what it does is basically it gives them different tracks as to what they may be suited for in a career. And then those careers are then tied to majors that we offer. And then students can spend a significant amount of time if they want. They can spend as much or as little time in the My Major Match program researching different careers. There's information in there about careers that they can look at on a national level, on a regional level. What is the projected growth of that career? The expectation for education for those careers. So there's lots and lots of information, salary, things like that. So it's really a great tool, and that is also in their MyFIU. And so that's one that I would encourage you even today. Take the My Major Match, ask your Panther. Let's look at it together. If you haven't taken it, go ahead and take it, and then let's sit down and look at it, because there's really a lot of great information in there. And again, they might decide today on one major, and then once they start taking classes and that are either prerequisites for the major or in the major, and may decide their first semester, oh, this is interesting, I hadn't considered this. And so really any of those changes we want to be done in their first semester, or by the end of fall, so that if they do have to make a change or choose to make a change, it doesn't impact their risk of reaching excess credits. And then the Navigate app is a great tool that we want all students to download that just can help them navigate all the different tools that we have at the university and different things at FIU. So this is what MyFIU, when they log in, these are called tiles. And as you can see, there's one for academic advising. And within academic advising is the Panther Success Network. So that's where they connect with their academic advisor. The degree audit, so that's the Panther degree audit that we use. And that's just, how that's different than the major map is that the degree audit doesn't give a recommendation as to what order courses should be taking them. Students should take them in. It's just strict flat requirements. Whereas the major map does recommend, an order. And the Success Network also helps with helping them combine the two. So these are some great tools for them. So this is what the Panther Success Network looks like. They click on this, you can see where it's circled on the left, the little envelope, if they have a message from the advisor. And so if the advisor messages the student, not only will it give them an alert in their Panther Success Network, it'll also notify the student in their email, their FIU email. And so if a student wants to notify their advisor or send a message, they do it through the Panther Success Network, but the advisor will get a notification in their email. And so that way, we don't expect students to be looking every day at their Panther Success Network, but we do expect students to be looking at their FIU email every day. And that is how we will notify students of anything that's important. It's through their FIU email. So as you can see, they can also schedule an appointment with their advisor through here. And typically advisors will have 2 to 3 weeks of availability at a time. The reports feature is where advisors will put, after they meet with the student, they'll put a report, a summary of what they discussed. And so the student, after they leave the office, may say, oh, wow, I forgot, what course did they recommend? Or, what was it that we discussed at the last meeting? And they can go back and look in their Success Network, and the information is there. And so you can see also, it has the upcoming appointments, reminder, it has a picture of the advisor. So if you look where it says right here, your success team. So it'll have a picture of your advisor. And then there's also a place where you can click to get more contact information on your advisor, where they're located, what their phone number is, their email address. So that's the Panther Success Network, and students hopefully will become very familiar with the Panther Success Network. So it's a fantastic tool. And I do encourage you to make sure that they're using this and look at it with them, sit down together. So this is the Panther degree audit. This is what it looks like. And it has all the requirements. Again, not only for university core curriculum, but all the major requirements and university requirements. It keeps track of minimum GPA, it keeps track of their overall credit hours. So this is what we use to determine when a student is ready to graduate. So this is another really important tool. And we encourage students to look at their degree audit before they register for classes and after they've registered for their classes. Make sure that they know what courses they need to take, because sometimes a course may have a similar, two courses may have a similar title, but it's the course number and abbreviation that determines, is it really the course that they need that's going to satisfy the requirement. And so here's the Navigate app. So we want all students to download this app on their phone. And so at orientation, the peer advisors typically, take a minute and say, okay, let's go ahead and download it on your phone, because it's a great tool to help students navigate through their journey to graduate. So you can also make sure your students have downloaded this app. So our career and talent development is also really a great tool for students. They have tons of information available. Handshake is the online resource that all students utilize. In fact, in their freshman experience class, they are required to go and make sure you, what we say, claimed your Handshake account, because as soon as they register, they will have an account. They just have to go in and sort of activate it. It's very simple. And this is where they're going to find all kinds of information, internship information. They have workshops, when they're scheduled. What is it, an online workshop? They have tons of stuff already planned for the summer. When we're back in person, there's lots of like a business etiquette dinner that I highly recommend. We do interviewing skills workshops. So everything they do is really, there's so many important things from their first semester until their last semester. So it's really important that they claim their Handshake account. Again, this is something that you can speak to your students about and make sure once classes start, they have claimed their, really after they register, they can claim their account and start using it. Because it's a fantastic tool. As you can see, almost 60% of students who participated in paid internships were offered jobs after graduation, in comparison to only 35.7% of students who did not have an internship. This is a national statistic, and we want students to plan out, okay, from day one, when are you going to do your internship? How are you going to fit that into your four-year plan? So career and talent development, hopefully they'll have a very strong relationship with the folks who work there. We have career counselors that are embedded into the academic units that work specifically with different majors to really be able to customize how they are able to help students in their, not only their 4 years in their journey through finishing their bachelor's degree, but starting their career afterwards. So we do have a course, a 1-credit course for students who are not 100% sure what they want to major in, or they may have several. We have students who have like, I love everything and I can't decide. And so this is a perfect course for them. What it focuses on is self-exploration and career planning. So it's really, unfortunately, we can't look at a student and say, you would be a great biology major, or you should go into business by looking at them. So it's really about, what is a student interested in? What do they like doing? What are they good at? And putting those together. And so this 1-credit course, Discover Your Major, is an option that if they want to consider taking this course, it is available for them. It's considered an elective, and it's only 1 credit. So that's available for them as well. College Life Coaching is a tool, again, another service, that's available for students. It's one-on-one support. There are certain students that are identified as are invited to participate in the College Life Coaching, and students can self-identify. And topics they discuss is motivation, time management, life challenges, problem solving, study strategies. It's really helping the student to determine what are their needs and how they can manage these to become more successful in college. We have a common reading program for our first-year students, and this year is A Dream Called Home by Raina Grande. We're super excited about this book. All the peer advisors who work with your students at orientation have read the book. Students who will be taking freshman experience seminar, their peer mentors in the class, and their instructors will have all read the book. Any students living on campus in one of the facilities where our first year students are housed, their RAs will have read the book. And so really it's the purpose of our common reading program is to get students to read. Students this year, we have an ebook. Since unfortunately we're not meeting in person to give them the book, we have an ebook. So it's an electronic book, it can be read from any device, and it's free to students. They just have to go in and claim their book. And so that's been discussed with them at orientation and their peer advisors. So please, please, please ask your student if they've claimed their book and make sure they have read it before the first day of class. They'll be discussing in freshman experience seminar, and they'll be writing a paper, like a 2-page paper, where they use their critical thinking skills about the story and how they can relate to Raina. And we're very fortunate that she's doing a virtual author visit with us on June 25th. So we'd love to have you join us for that if you're interested. So please talk to your students about A Dream Called Home, because this is one of their very first college assignments. And then convocation, new student convocation will be held June 22nd. So it's a virtual event. Dr. Mark Rosenberg, our president, will be welcoming all new students at 10 a.m. And again, it's virtual, so it's online. So please make time to watch this with your student and encourage them to participate. And there are events all throughout that first week related to convocation, welcoming students to FIU. So that is the end of our presentation, and I know I'm out of time. So hopefully if you had any questions, you sent those into the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get those answered for you.